Each year, in the lead up to the January 26 Australia Day celebrations, hashtag Change the Date debates fire up. Although they take on different forms and the nuances evolve, entrenched colonialism is at the core of these debates. Colonialism cuts through discourse across a spectrum of positions, and the annual debates reflect Australia's increasing divisiveness. Arguments for and against changing the date examined in this presentation intrinsically tie to national, communal, personal and structural identity, or lack thereof. Each year that goes by, January 26 becomes less inclusive and more controversial. National pride and identity form the basis for the argument against changing the date. However, it's comments like leave the past in the past and they should get over it that continue to dominate mainstream rhetoric. A fundamental and significant prerequisite for the celebration of a national day is a nation. The Commonwealth of Australia was formed in 1901. Nationhood bound to January 26 is irrational, as Australia did not exist in 1788. Changing the date moves to liberate our national day from the ongoing structural dominance of colonial roots and its demoralising association with Invasion Day. The contextual, cultural and historical signifiers of national unity cannot accurately symbolise federation or the birthing of nationhood when it's still imperialistically dominated by the birth of a penal colony and founded on the lie of terra nullius. Australia Day is about celebrating a beautiful country, and we have plenty to be grateful for. Australia's natural features and beauty underpin the notion of a lucky country. In a global and environmental context, a celebration that honours, protects and values the astonishing beauty across our vastly diverse landscapes is arguably more significant than all public holidays combined. Aussies love a public holiday, particularly one drenched in summertime activities. A public holiday at the end of January is, well, very Australian. How good are the Easter public holidays? And they flow into Anzac Day, Labor Day and the Queen's unbirthday. That's the sweet spot. Noel Pearson talks about the three narratives that live alongside each other in Australia and believes we should think about a 3-day celebration. Could the lure of more public holidays be the key to reform that revives our national day with new and meaningful traditions? Australia is a nation still in its youth and still defining itself, but January 26 is about celebrating with pride. Be it the camaraderie reminiscent of our diggers, the she'll be right attitude, or the ideals of cohesion and a fair go for all. Across Australia, celebrations centre on fireworks displays, sports, barbecues and boozing with mates. The 26th of January is experienced in vastly different ways by families and communities across the country. Some argue a divisive agenda in the push to change the date. For others, a date change is tokenistic or symbolic. The date and nature of national commemorations are inherently tied to looking back and moving forward as a unified nation. The nature of celebrations should be evolving, becoming increasingly diverse. Synonymous with Australia Day are the Governor-General's honours and awards systems, which give the nation a chance to celebrate and acknowledge the outstanding community achievements of those who make Australia a better place. Although no longer mandatory, more people pledge their commitment to Australia on January 26 than any other time of the year. They are the key focus for local councils nationwide. Naturally, becoming a citizen is an unforgettable occasion to be treasured forever, and completing their journey to Australian citizenship in connection with Australia Day kind of nails it. According to Coleman, former Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs, Australia Day is a time for us to give a warm welcome to our newest citizens and acknowledge the importance of what it means to become an Australian. The argument for changing the date is straightforward. January 26 marks a day of invasion, commencing a chain of events with disastrous consequences for First Nations peoples and communities. It's a painful day. January 26 epitomises the intergenerational lived experiences of colonial oppression, such as the theft and destruction of lands and cultures, genocide, slavery and violence. Decimation of nations via disease and massacres, the destruction of families and kinship, ongoing discrimination and social, economic and political exclusion. For Kayleen Langford, it feels like stomping on people's graves and throwing a party. The essence of Australia Day celebrations lack a social conscience. January 26 reiterates stereotypes and misconceptions. It perpetuates the discovery colonial myth that this continent is just over 300 years young, ignoring more than 60,000 years of pre-colonial history. It is simultaneously marking the day dispossession began, while fueling and furthering European invasion as a focal source of Australian identity and pride. Amid confusion over where Captain Cook even fits in, statistics show many Australians remain steadfast in their belief that the National Day has always been celebrated on January 26. Australia Day should and can be a celebration of our nation united, but we need to get the story straight, and that can only happen in partnership with First Peoples. Changing the date is as necessary as it is simple. So simple, in fact, that it has been done numerous times. Australia Day has been celebrated on various dates. The name, timing and nature of events equaling the historical adaptability of the date. The Australian states and territories only presented as unified in their celebrations of a national festival on January 26 in 1935. It wasn't until 1994 that January 26 became a national public holiday, with 1988 bicentennial celebrations and demonstrations in full swing. Prime Minister Keating suggested the varied opportunities and perspectives we experience as Australians will inform how we view our nation. From its formation, the Australia Day Committee has struggled establishing a national identity, one which will unite each and every one of us, surmounting all the borders, imaginary or real, of race, creed or class status. The temporal context and socio-cultural factors of January 26 have required consistent mediating, with themes like One Land, One People. Graham Allen, chairman of the National Youth Advisory Group, conceding we are not precisely sure ourselves what meaning ought to be attributed to the spirit of Australia Day. Observed in mainstream Australia Day reflections are the freedoms and opportunities afforded by egalitarian and democratic principles. Shared celebrations implies inclusiveness as an instrument of unity that holds meaning in context and nature. Therefore, establishing alternative dates must reflect the diversity of our social fabric in its entirety, be guided in principle and responsive to the needs of all. It's about our people, all of us, First Nations peoples and the vast array of multinational and multicultural peoples. It's about how Australians perceive themselves and the transformative potential within both cultural diversity and uniqueness. How our values are represented in celebrations and commemorations can inform us about nationhood. The conversation ideology and country must evolve to embrace new ideas and ways of being, formed within the context of Australia by Australians. Australians don't need tokenism or symbolic change. We need a unified celebration, one which is both the living expression of contemporary and future Australia. We need spaces to share, commemorate and grow together. We need to strengthen national resolve and identity and take pride through our preparedness to reconcile. That which bonds Australians so tightly to January 26 is a formidable force. To deconstruct it, we need each other.
But we are many, and from all the lands on earth we come. We share a dream and sing in one voice.